Hey guys, it's Dawn and Drogo here. Drogo is my RSHT, RS19. This is the newer one. I just got it in February as my first wheel, and I got it with the black motherboard. So let's see, today I want to go ahead and share with you the things that I learned from yesterday. Took it over to Dave and he helped me do some cooling mods and some other stuff in there. So it's the first time I've ever opened him up, but I got a chance to learn how to open him up, how to work on him, and take a look at the inside and learn about different tips and stuff on how to safely do this. So I'm just going to share all of this stuff that Dave taught me yesterday, and we'll get started with that. Okay, so first, before we even do that, I just want to show you, this is my first wheel, and look how perfect he still is. Okay, this isn't gonna be, but I mean, I've dropped him and everything, but it's my first wheel, right? All the stuff that a newbie would do when they're learning. And see how clean and nice he still is? That's because from the very beginning, I made his utility frame, and this utility frame has been on him the whole time. And then when I take off the utility frame, then you see he is completely safe and protected inside. So I have a video about my utility frame already, but here's the utility frame, and it's really easy. I decide I want to work on him. I just have to take this off. It's held on by the Velcro in these panels. The pads and all that still stay right on here, so I just have to pull this right off with Velcro, pull that right off, and then I'm ready to work. So that was the first step. Okay, so the next step is to get him down, and I'm gonna get this better set up. Okay, let's see. Oh, what tools do you need? So you need like a small screwdriver, a skinny type one, like probably a PZ. Dave says PZ2, and PZ2 was working for him, but my PZ2 wasn't working, and so my PZ1s are working better now that I'm here. So I'm using PZ1, but yeah, you can PZ1, PZ2, one of those. It's just these outer screws right here. You will need a 5 Allen key to get the pedal off. If it's your first time opening it up, there are 2 screws that you can't reach until you take off the pedal. But after this, we're going to leave those 2 screws out, and that's a tip from Seth Johnson, I believe. So after this, we're going to leave those out so that we never have this problem again, and we will be able to take off the case out in the field and not have to remove the pedals. You don't need those screws, and then you can just silicone over those screw holes so that nothing gets in. So remember I was saying, whenever you lay it down for the RS, you should lay it down on the left side and the left side of the wheel. So if you are the wheel, then your left side is your wheel's left side. So you want to lay it down on the left side because the right side is where the motherboard is at, and you don't want to lay it on the motherboard if it's bouncing like in the car, or if you're on a break, you don't want to lay him down and then sit on his side cover while he's on the ground. I mean, if there's a rock underneath or whatever poking at him, and also any side pressure can push directly onto delicate parts. So we're gonna, how I remember is, I believe you have to lay them on the left side in order to get to the valve stem. So if you see, lay him down on the side that the valve stem is not on. All right, so you're gonna take your screwdriver, you're gonna take out 11 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Actually 13 if it's your first time, because the other ones are down here. 11, 12, 13. And then after this time, if you want, just don't put these ones back in. So in order to get these ones out, you have to come in through here. So that's why you have to take it. And this is a 5 hex wrench. 5 hex wrench. There's a hex bolt thingy here and another one over here. Unscrew and take off both of those, and then take like a long hex, stick that in and hammer it in, or push this rod, the pedal rod, out. Then be sure to catch these 2 spacers. There's a spacer there and a spacer there, and then your whole pedal comes off. Your pedal hanger stays there. Then you'll be able to get these 2. Then once you've taken out your screws, put them in to somewhere nice and safe. They're not very magnety. And then you can pull this off. Be very careful pulling it off at first, because there is a seal around, and it might even have some silicone or maybe some glue or something like that. So it might feel like it's stuck. So you just want to ease around. And if you have bumpers like me over here, like this bumper actually will catch it. Because it has sit. So I know that when I go to put it in, I have to slide it in under the bumper first, and then, you know, finagle it all around to make it sit properly. But after you take off all these screws, then you'll be able to pop this off. And then make sure, so when you pop this off, it might pop off because of all the stickies, you know, maybe silicone or glue or whatever. It's stuck on there real good the first time, and you just want to make sure that your screws don't jump out. So you can use, you know, you can try to pop off as many screws as you can and put them into your bowl so you don't lose them. Otherwise, if you just pop it all off, they might pop and roll around and you might lose them. This is what type of screw it is too. It's a little Phillips head, short. All right, so you take that off, and now this is the right side. It's laying on the left side, headlamp front over here, headlamp is over here. So this is the right side, and this is what we got inside. You got your motherboard over here. Mine has a teeny tiny little fan, and let's see, heat sink, capacitors, MOSFETs, engine wires, or motor, I'm sorry, thinking in terms of bikes, motor wires. And Dave was saying that you have to, if you're going to disconnect your motor wires, you have to know what colors they are. So like for mine, the first one here is yellow. This one over here is green, and this one is blue. And what he does is he'll write that yellow, blue, green as the order, so that he knows which colors to put back into which spot, because you don't want to mix those up. And you can see the color over there. Sorry, my thingy doesn't want to focus. All right, so your MOSFETs are all of those. And something that I still have to do is use silicone and dab it on all of the screw heads on the motherboard. I need to get the silicone. So the silicone that you want is a non-conductive electrical electrical silicone, RVT. You don't want just regular old silicone that can conduct electricity. So the mod that we did, I forgot to grab the motherboard cover. Okay, so before, this had a big thick plastic cover over this whole thing. It was really nice, and there were screws holding that in place. We just removed the whole thing. Now you can just modify it if this was a different design, like Dave's was a different design. So he just modified the cover and left his cover on. But mine is a different design than his. Mine has a fan here, and the fan is actually blowing across the entire heatsink. And then the cover was over here on this side of it. So actually for mine, it was better to just remove the whole cover, which is what a lot of people do anyway. So that wasn't any big deal. What we did find out was that this capacitor, when you tapped on it, it actually moved up and down, because the silicone underneath was just really puny, and it was kind of giving out. So you'll see the white silicone is their original silicone. The black silicone right there in the center, this black silicone, that's the new stuff that Dave dabbed onto there. And once it dried, then it is now nice and stiff and firm. See? So now this isn't going to be bouncing around. This one was bouncing around. This one is very firm and stable, and that's good. And then there's another one in here, and this one is firm and stable and not moving anywhere. So we fixed that, or Dave did. And then this is the hollow bore motor cover thing, I think. So what it originally was, it just looked like a round piece of plastic covering this whole entire hole. But this channel here is hollow. You can see right there, it's hollow. And it opens up to the bottom here. So this whole thing is a hollow channel. So what he did was he took off this piece, and underneath was this inner collar. Then he cut the collar right there. That is his cut. So he cut the collar. My phone doesn't want to focus. Just to make it so that it will have an open channel for air coming in through here. And then he flipped this. This is now upside down. We put it back in. There is a lip underneath that it sits on. And then we just filled all of this with silicone to seal off any holes. So that way water from the wheel well can get up into here and come into here. So that's why we want to seal that off. But now there is an exit hole for air, in or X, for air to come into here. So we did that, and then he added sponge around here. So this is the, let me get back over here. That's the trolley handle, and possibly water can get in through the little trolley handle and come down here. But if the water comes down here, this sponge is just going to absorb that water. These speakers, it's just open, so water can come in through the speaker holes, but if it does, hopefully the sponge will just catch. And when the wheel is standing up, we're hoping that the water will just kind of like come to the bottom here. Some people might drill a hole to let the water out, but instead, like Dave said, you can just put sponge there instead, and the sponge will soak up the water. Obviously it's not going to soak it up if it's like a flood in here, but if it's just a few little drops, then it's better to have the sponge soak it up than to have the water droplets just flying around. And like, if originally the water was just pooled up over here and it wasn't going to be a problem, and then you didn't catch it, and then it rolled or splashed onto here, then that would be a problem. But this will just catch any stray water droplets. And then the beautiful battery pack. And since I'm here, let me go ahead and just show you that. All right, so that was all we had to do, was just take off. The motherboard cover, the plastic cover, was on this, so we did have to cut it to be able to slide it off of these wires, but that's not a big deal because I'm not using the motherboard cover anyways, and it's not destroyed. I could always put it back on. Okay, so for the shell, you have these channels over here that are sealed up, and then it's open here. Air can come up into here. So what we did, open up this on this side and this on this side, just to give it more air holes. And let's see, this one will go up to here. Yeah, see, so if water came in through that side, then it would come up. But from this side, it's okay, because if any water comes into here, it'll get stuck into these channels. That's why it's safe to open that. So that's when it looks like when it's closed. That's when it looks like when you just drill a little hole in it. And then what else we did was these are the those 2 screws that we're not going to use anymore. So we just put silicone on there. So now these have silicone in here, so there's no ingress. That's about it. So on the other side, it's pretty much empty. You open it up and it's just another big battery over here, and over here is a big old Bluetooth speaker. Oh, your internal beeper is over here, and on the other side is the speaker for music. That's the Bluetooth speaker. So that is just sitting over, and then there's just some little wires going around. But on the other side, we did this mod again on the other side, the hollow bore, and that was it. Okay, so before you work on it, this is the battery plug. You need to disconnect that to, disconnect it from the battery. But before you do that, let's see, how do we do this? Okay, so, no. You take off the cover, and then here's your battery, and you're going to disconnect the battery. Just pull these 2 pieces separate, okay? And then you're going to push the power button while it's still laying like this. You're going to push the power button, and you're going to turn it on. You're going to turn it off. You're going to turn it on, you're going to turn it off. You're going to keep doing that until it won't turn on anymore. That way it's using up any of the excess power energy that is still live in there. You're just trying to drain the system of all power. Then it is safe to work on. All right, let's see, what else? I think that was it. So that's all we did. And then we plugged this back in, put on the cover, turned it back on, and everything was fine. So very simple. And one of the reasons why I wanted to get the RS, why I chose the RS over other wheels, is because I wanted something that was very easy to work on and very simple, not something. So once you get into the newer ones and suspension and all that, there's more parts, it's more complex and all that. It's a little bit harder to work on, but this one is super easy, and I really love that. And now that we've sealed up these 2 screw holes, I mean, it is so easy. 11 screws to pop the cover on and off. And if it's overheating at all, then what I could do right in the field is just unscrew the cover case and the shell, and then prop it up a little bit to let even more air flow through, or whatever, to clean it, air compressor. Use the air compressor to blow it out. Just be real gentle on delicate parts and all that. You can wipe it with a damp cloth. Just don't let any water touch any sensitive electronics. But basically air compressor. And if you use an air compressor, you can think about using a moisture filter with it. All right, so the moisture filter on an air compressor is just because whenever you have a pressure chamber and water and air pressurized, then it'll make condensate water. That will build up and sit on the bottom, and all air compressors should have a drain hole that you unscrew on the bottom, and then it'll let all that air come out. Or you can use a moisture filter. I don't have a moisture. I'm in SoCal. I don't have a moisture filter on mine, but just to be on the safe side, what can happen is that when you spray air, then water could come out of it, and you definitely don't want to be spraying around your motherboard and have it be spitting out water, right? So that's the concern about it. But if you keep your air compressor empty, like I usually do, and only fill it up when you need it, then there shouldn't be any water buildup in there at all to spray, so it should be fine. But that's just something to think about if you want. The other thing is when you put this on, now that I have the pedal on, then I need to slip this end in to the pedal part and then finagle it into the bumpers. But I'm able to slide it just fine. It's just a little bit, you know. And always start and stop your screwing manually, and then do the middle part. You can do the middle part with a little electric one, and that'll speed things up a lot. I'm just doing a lot of it manually right now because of the video. You might not be able to hear me so well. Another thing is that if you are using an electric one, use it at its lowest setting, and so you start it and you push hard and like loosen, right? You don't want to strip it, so if you push firmly to loosen it, and then you switch over to this, bzz, and when you go bzz, and all of a sudden you hear a little click, 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 that means that it's now loose, it's completely disengaged, and then you can stop. And then when you screw it in, you know, make sure that the torque is real low, and then finish off with this. Don't screw one in super tight. Do it kind of loose and then go back and tighten. And the pattern would be you go from here. So I would do this one, then I would do the opposite side and go around opposite sides. The other thing is that this has a very definite lip to it, and it's very easy to not notice that the lip is not seated correctly at one end or the other. So make sure that you take a step back. Like right now, my bottom lip is not seated, but it's not screwed in all the way. My top lip is seated. So just make sure that as you're doing it, you gotta actually seat this, and you might have to hold it down while you get a screw in to hold in that seated lip and then move on. So there you go. Hope it helps. And thanks for watching me and joining me today. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye.